given that all of you are writers, they're not writers to start out with, they're nurses to start out with, right?
Yes.
And you can't just assume that every nurse knows how to write. So how do you discern whether or not they've got the writing capability to do this job? To me, this is kind of one of these $1 million questions because we're always struggling with this. I think it's a tough one to solve. I was just on a call just as early this afternoon with a bunch of other marketers, and the question came up with is, hey, I'm hiring for some content writers. What's a good way to figure out who's a good writer? Can you tell us, how have you done that? How have you solved, or how do you approach this challenge of identifying who's got writing chops?
Yeah, so this was definitely a challenge for my agency. So the agency started in 2020, and this is where we kind of struggled with that. But going even before, are they a good writer? It's, can they follow directions?
Mm,
And this goes for any content writer. If they can't follow directions, I don't care how good of a writer they are, they're
mm,
making our business slow down. They're making the operations of the business slow down. So I really look for those detail oriented people that can follow directions, one. Now, the other thing that we have done, and we really perfected it this past year, is we have an internal editor who's an English teacher at a college level who has specialization in health. She's not a nurse,
okay.
but she has all these backgrounds. She is an amazing editor, and she put together a course for people who want to be vetted into our agency. They do not have to take the course if they're like, Janine, I already know how to write. I have my DNP. I've been in nursing school forever, wrote all my papers in graduate school. Okay, we'll give you a chance. So we give them an article just to write for free. And it's something they could put in their portfolio when they're done. So they
Mm,
can at least say they have something that was edited or whatever. And our editor goes in there, gives them some really, really valuable feedback. And from there, she rates them. And that's an internal thing. The writer will know, but like, we don't share it with the world. But we only keep our 4 to 5 star writers that can go on client projects, because
okay.
here's probably where your people, my people, were burned in the past. We'll assign something to someone we think is a good writer because they say they good. We read samples, they're good. And you're like, okay, they're good. And one, they either don't follow directions, now the deadline's pushed, or two, they go into it, you think they're a good writer, and it comes back and you're like, oh my gosh, we can't send this to a client. This is terrible. And then you're writing it yourself, or you have to give it to someone else. Now you're pushed on the deadline again. Then you don't look reliable to the client, so on and so forth. And now it's like, we have select writers that we use, and we always have to check availability because these nurses are full time at the bedside. So I
Mm,
can't assume that, they're available to take on projects, but maybe they just picked up, 3 overtime shifts. I don't know.
mm,
So
mm.
that's kind of how we've done it. So I guess any advice I can give is look at your editors, see if they'd be willing to help you vet writers. And if they are, kind of go from there, see if that helps.